I'm going to come for that screen, grip you around the neck.
Right guys, welcome to my coverage of the upcoming fight between Hafthor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall. So it's a proper Clash of the Titans. And what I'm going to do in this series, guys, is I'm going to be covering the training of both fighters. So enough time to shut up, let's show you the footage, and then I'll come back every now and then showing you what I would do. Ding ding, round one! Make sure you do it. Alright guys, you probably already spotted it already at yourselves anyway, but what we're seeing from Eddie at this point in time is he is fighting someone of comparative height as his bag to myself, right? Hafthor is up here, he's 6'9", he's a real tall man. Eddie is about half an inch to an inch shorter than I am. I've met him in real person, real life, face to face. And I've stood next to him quite a few times, and I can tell you, as I say, he's about up to here on me. So the tallest fighter I've fought against was 6'10", so roughly around the same sort of height as Hafthor. And I can tell you, going up against a man so much taller than yourself is really hard, and you have to fight a certain way. If you guys want to see how I fight against a tall fighter, real good and proper like, I have a video on here that covers the Jack Dempsey Jess Willard fight, fully colorized with original commentary, and you'll see Jack Dempsey, who is roughly my height, okay, going up against someone roughly Hafthor's height, the same sort of height difference anyway, and you'll see how to demolish a bigger guy as a shorter man. However, let's just go over the basic tactics and some of the things that Eddie isn't actually employing at the moment at the point of this video footage. So you'll notice Eddie, when he's approaching his coach and his sparring partner, I put that in inverted commas, sparring partner. This is not sparring. Eddie labels a video sparring, it ain't sparring. Anyway, let's cover what he's doing wrong in his sparring. So what he's doing is he is sort of standing proud and big. He's a little bit too square on for a boxer. If he was fighting a Muay Thai fight, yeah, brilliant. It would allow him to throw kicks a little bit easier. It's obviously side on. You can't throw kicks so much, right? So you have to be square on for like Muay Thai and other sort of exotic martial arts like that. But as a boxer, you want to be standing side on, less of a target to hit, right? If you're standing square on, your belly's exposed, and it's very hard to protect it without going like that, at which point your head's fully exposed. Not that Eddie protects his head anyway. Anyone can say keep your hands up. You don't have to be an expert to say that. And of course, yes, for Eddie, you know what, he hasn't got the best head movement, even though he's trying to show that he has on this sparring video with his quick little things. He might be able to move his head fairly quickly, but he hasn't got a great range of movement in his head. Too muscular, he's muscle bound, he's too big, he hasn't lost weight. Well, he has lost weight, but not enough weight to be able to move properly around the hips because he hasn't got the mobility around the mid region. For all intents and purposes, got zero head movement from a fighting boxing perspective, right? And so if you've got no head movement, you've got to protect your head. If you have got good head movement, okay, and mobility around the hips, you can bring those hands a little bit lower because you're using the movement to create a defense instead. Now, I personally, when I fight, do keep my hands low. So I never go to people, keep your hands up, because there are ways of defending yourself without keeping your hands up like this, you know, real defensive like this, okay? Now, going up against a taller guy, okay, that might be useful because of course you're going to take a lot of jabs as you go in, and it might be at points where you sort of close the distance, kind of go like that and hope that he doesn't kind of hold your arms in place. So when you come in, bang, bang, you can come in like this. You want to sometimes, yes, defend yourself as you're going in, but Eddie, again, doesn't do that anyway. I do recommend that, but as I say, I have no issues with him keeping his hands low as long as he employs other defences. He's gonna get jabbed. He's gonna get the head jabbed off him. Not only is Hafthor taller, he's a southpaw fighter also. Southpaws are renowned for having incredibly powerful jabs, and they come at angles you're not quite used to. This is something Eddie's doing right. His sparring partner, I don't know if he's a natural southpaw, but is trying to throw punches from a southpaw perspective. So he is standing with his right leg forwards instead of his left leg, which is unusual, as I say. In European fighting styles, it is unusual to fight a southpaw. It's more common in, you know, the further east you go, but in Europe, it's very rare to find a southpaw fighter. And they're awkward mostly because you haven't trained against them, right? They're not awkward because they're slightly different, because they're better. They're just awkward because they're different to what you may have experienced on the majority. So he's doing that right. He's going up against a southpaw fighter. Fantastic. Bare knuckle, traditional bare knuckle, you don't necessarily protect your head so much, okay? In boxing, with gloves, it's a bit more important to protect your head. So given that, yes, but it's always, I found, better to not get hit than it is to simply block and deflect, so we say. It's better to evade, okay? And when your hands are a bit lower down, you can see more. When your hands are up here, especially with big gloves on, it's a bit different when you've got bare hands, but when you've got big gloves on, they blind you. Okay, and unless your guard is very encompassing, you are a sitting duck at that point. So I always keep it a little lower, but this is where Eddie's going wrong. First of all, he doesn't really use his shoulder to protect his jaw from incoming jabs. Okay, you're supposed to have your shoulder high, or at least raise it when punches are coming in. Now you notice I did that naturally, I didn't think about it. My right hand is also protecting my jaw from incoming punches, and when I'm ready to attack or in a neutral stance, my right hand is always covering this side of the jaw because it's easy to kind of turn the body and the shoulder into a punch and kind of deflect it. So you still have block and deflection techniques available to you when you keep your hands low. The advantage of keeping the hands low, and this would work for Eddie if he did it, he doesn't, but if he did, is that the punches when you throw are out slightly of the peripheral vision of your opposing fighter. So your hands are low, they're a lot harder to see. If the punch is coming from there, you can kind of see it, right? If they're coming from down here, it's a lot sort of harder to see. And as you can see, you can get quite a bit more power in there. So that's like that, and you can come in like that. And the reason the second one is a little bit more powerful is because you're able to kind of rotate the hips into it. Eddie isn't doing this. I say he hasn't got the hip mobility. So in this case, I would agree with the advice that people are giving. He needs to keep his hands up because he doesn't have the physicality or the natural fight style to be able to fight with his hands low and benefit from it. This is what he's doing. He's keeping his hands low, normally keeping his left hand out because he's afraid of getting punched. I'm going to go over that in a minute. He keeps his hand out to try and basically defend himself. He's using it because he's trying to minimise the amount of attacks, say like the right cross coming over to protect himself. He's trying to defend himself with this hand that's lurching out all the time. Okay, and what he sometimes does is he pulls down as well with his hands. Okay, this again can be a valid technique. I've used it myself in fights, especially against taller fighters, but he's not technically proficient to do it. He's not doing it for technical reasons, he's doing it because he's afraid. And you can see that the way he reacts when kind of punches come in to a degree. But what he's doing is he has his hands low. Really, you should have them like this, that way when you come in, you can come in like that, or you can come in like this. What he's doing is keeping his hands low, it's exposures in here. Okay, yes, you can't punch from that side, but you can still punch from that side, so you'll still be receiving punches, which his sparring partner is not doing, hence why I say sparring partner, okay? But he keeps his hands down here, and he's coming like that. Now see if I can throw that hard. Okay, I can throw it hard-ish, but not as hard as when I'm coming straight down. So there's a lack of power when you're doing this, even though it feels stronger, you're like, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm the world's strongest man. It's not powerful, okay? It's not boxing efficient. What you want to do instead, as I say, is come straight down. One, it's quicker, okay? You've got less distance to cover rather than a big swing, so there's less chance to evade or block it, less chance that you're going to see it coming. One of the big knockout punches that comes from a boxer is a punch that you don't see. They hurt the most because you're not prepared for it. You know, it's like when you know a punch is coming towards your belly, you tense up and you're kind of ready for the pain. If you suddenly get hit and you don't know where it's coming from, oh, it hurts. Even if it's not hard, it still hurts. But doing this, he's telegraphing. He's telling for whoever he's fighting against, there's a punch coming up. There's a punch coming up, right? And this is an issue.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Come on. Oh.
And what I do like about what Eddie's doing and what he's been taught to do is he is doing a lot of body work. Okay, he is coming in and he's working the body a lot more than say the average fighter. I love working the body of a fighter. Okay, it does so much damage and it adds up over the rounds, and you can really end the fight with just body punches alone. There's too much of a focus in the head in modern boxing for my taste. Obviously it's where in theory the knockout punches come from, but I was always taught by my dad's dad, who was a professional boxer and also a bare knuckle fighter for the circus, believe it or not. He was a booth fighter, and he always said, work the body, work the foundations, and the rest will come crumbling down. So he used to bang, 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 work the body, and then bang, he would come in for the head to finish the fight, but only when the body was completely obliterated. I like what Eddie's doing here. I like that he's mixing it all up.
Sorry, good shot. I'll do.
So how would I tackle a taller fighter? As I say, it's difficult. The odds are against Eddie based on that alone. But you can turn the advantage of height on its sort of upside down, so to speak, and use it as a disadvantage for the opposing fighter. You can make it their weakness, okay? yes, they're going to be hit you from further away. And if you trade with them at a distance, you'll always lose because they can hit you, you can't hit them. And long limbs tend to hit harder than short ones because they just get that bit more momentum. Obviously, you know, most people advance like that, keeping in their stance. What Jack Dempsey used to do is he used to step in more like this, so he would use both feet and he would come out of his natural orthodox stance. And as you can see, I'm already up close now with this. If this guy was taller than me, he can't hit me at this point. He can hit the back of my head and the side maybe, but I can come in here, I can come in here, I can even switch my body stance around, come in the left, step out, bang, 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 and then come back in. Okay, I can do murder on him. And if he can't get away, he's fucked. Okay? Try not to swear, but there's only one way to say it. So that's what you can do. One of the things you can do is step in an orthodox manner, in a way that isn't expected, and then come in. And as you come in, you know, you can do all this, and bang, you know, and you can use the momentum of coming in to deliver a really big body blow, and then you can follow it up something like that. And you can see, I'm talking to you, I'm not trying. You can see the damage that these kind of punches can do. Whereas this is Eddie. Yeah, you see the difference? He's like a fucking walking mummy. That's what he'll be. He'll be a mummy. He's gonna get killed in that ring if he fights like that against Hafthor.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Oh.
Okay, so we know that his right hand is slow and low, okay? Not a good thing. If it was fast and low, we could work with it, but he's too slow and he's too low with his right hand. Let's focus on the left-handers a little bit more. He keeps it out, okay? And as I said, there is a time and place for this, but not to be done all the time. And he keeps it out all the time. He's very predictable. He kind of leans forwards a little bit with it as well, trying to get his body weight into it. As its advantages, it might tire the other opponent out. You can rest your hand on them and push down. They've got your body weight to hold, and it also gives you a little bit of a break. Okay, a bit better in the clinch. You hold them and you try and put your weight onto them, but obviously it's going to get broken after a short while of doing that. You're not really inferior like supposed to clinch in boxing. So he keeps his hand out like this. Now the problem with it is, even when he's not holding on to his opponent, say he's advancing like that, let's throw a jab. I mean, that's me trying to do it as hard as I can. Because his arm's already straight, or near enough straight, and because it's only got a short distance to go, it ain't great. Now if he wants to hold his hand out, he should do it more sort of old-fashioned style. So we're talking around the period of the 1700s and 1800s, very, very early 1900s, okay? They used to fight with the hands a bit lower, and they used to have the left hand out like this. The reason they did this mostly was to protect them against grappling, because at this point in boxing, you were allowed to grab and throw, okay? And in short, keeping your hands low help protect that, because you can push them away, or you can grab them, and it allows you to initiate also. Not so much of an issue obviously in today's boxing, but if he wants to keep his hand out so he feels safe, fine, but keep it down here. Yeah, that way, you can see he still throws some fairly powerful punches. Why? Because you can get your hips, even if I don't step into it, you know, you can still get your hips into it. But it still helps keep a distance, okay? And if that's his safety blanket, fine, but instead of keeping it up here, keep it down here. And keep your hand up. Now, I said there's a time and place to help keep your hand out, okay? Part of it can be to try and get in like that, to beat your way in, but you come in with an immediate attack, okay? So you come in, much like before, you're coming in like this, you know, and you're doing a variety of different attacks. Doing all the time isn't great, but what it can be great for is, to say, occasionally being used as a rangefinder. Those of you who have seen Thomas Hitman Hearns fight, he used to do this himself, and he was a superb boxer, one of the best. He's one of the best hitters, certainly pound for pound, that the world has ever seen. So there is a time and place. How did he do it? As I say, he used to use it as a rangefinder, so he used to go like this, and it was normally whilst the other fighter was already tired and a little bit shaken, okay? Now the other reason he got away with it is not only because he was very technically proficient, had good head movement, all the rest of it, all the things that, in my opinion, Eddie doesn't have, but because he was tall, okay? He was taller than most fighters he went up against, and so his arms were longer, and he knew if his hands were out and just about touching you, okay, you couldn't hit him. Okay, so for him, it was a way of testing his defences. If they're coming closer, he would back off and keep you at arm's reach, literally, because his arms are longer than yours. Now, the reason he got away with this as well was because he was incredibly fast with his punches, and he hit like a ton of bricks. Okay, so the way to go against this, if you imagine an arm out straight here, is to kind of bob and weave underneath it, as we've kind of gone on before, you know, bang bang, or maybe parry it down and come over the top with a step in, okay? That's the kind of thing that you want to be doing against something like this, and what Thor could do, because Thor's so much taller, one of the best things is if he puts his hand out, bang bang, he doesn't even have to drag it down, he can just literally kind of go over the top, so say the arm, bang, over the top of the arm, so he just goes like that, that's going to hurt, right? Essentially, Eddie was using his arms as a rangefinder for Thor himself, okay? Because when Eddie can get his arms to touch Thor or down close to it, Thor will know to come in with a hook. He can't come in with a straight cross, but he can come in with a hook. However, what Hitman Hearns did is very much similar to what I've just shown you there, but obviously used for himself. He would use his arms as a rangefinder, and he would just come over, bang, with a big right cross. Now the other way that Thor can kind of deal with that extended left hand, and the reason I'm focusing so much on this is because it seems to be such an integral part of Eddie's defence and in some ways offense. He uses it aggressively, and it seems to be something that Eddie's coach is certainly not discouraging, if not potentially encouraging. I don't know why he's doing it so much and why he's not being picked up on it and going, naughty boy, don't do that again, you know? Suppose you've got to have balls to do that to Eddie Hall, right? He's a very strong man. I think honestly the way that Eddie would be most dangerous is in an MMA fight. He just grabs you and rips your arms out your sockets because he can't punch for shit, in my opinion. But there we go. I'm saying he is dangerous, just not in the boxing ring, right? This is something that may not be applicable to an orthodox fighter, that is a right-handed person. But because Thor is left-handed, this is something available to him in his arsenal of defences. And that is, if you imagine the left hand out here towards my face, okay, let's say Eddie's close to distance and he's got his punch, his fist right in my face, so he's somehow close to distance, okay, and I'll say I'm like I am now, I'm kind of cornered and I can't get out. This would be a great way to defend yourself, but it would be great anywhere in the ring, but it certainly becomes more of an essential option if he is basically charging you, okay. So he's got his left hand out, all you do is you come in, bang, right uppercut, or even body hook, but an uppercut would be better to the body, okay, so, or even a double. Now the reason you're doing this is you're not going for power, okay, necessarily with these punches. You can, but you just pick him off whilst covering your face. You just keep picking him off and battering that same part of the body. You try to be as precise as possible, okay, as you're going in to hit the same place every time and kind of break through his defences. Because one thing Eddie has is a fantastic body. He's a beast of a man. Hence why he's called the beast. Even though he's a big lad, his core and his abs are incredibly strong. So fair play to him. He's going to be hard to hurt, but it will take its toll, okay? But the reason you're doing this is because Eddie has a a bad habit, to try and protect where he's being attacked, and he's not being attacked that often. You know, Thor had the same problem at the very beginning, and I covered that in my first video in this series actually, which was just covering literally one of Thor's, but I think it was Thor's very first sparring session that he ever did. Thor had that problem of reacting to punches, moving his hand to where punches were coming in to cover himself rather than simply taking it or evolving his defense, but in a more dynamic way, rather than reaction, you know, where he's got more of a static or dynamic defense through body movement.
A little tidbit from that video that I've already covered, showing the mistakes that Thor was making in that first sparring session that he had. Really kind of doing the same mistakes that Eddie's still doing. However, as we'll see in future videos, Thor has kind of corrected these mistakes through mostly the sparring and fighting. So good on him.
Okay. Now Thor has fixed that, and how? Because he spars, he gets hit, and his coach is not massaging his ego. He's telling him, "This is what you're doing wrong. You arrogant fuck. Listen." And this is exactly what Eddie needs to hear. His coach, as small as he may be, because the old guy, you don't really see that often, he needs to go up to him and go, "Oi, Eddie, listen!" That's exactly what you want, because you want to get hurt, you want to get hit outside of the ring. In your training, you'll want to get hurt so you don't get hurt inside the ring. It makes sense, right? But, you know, anyway, he keeps making these same mistakes. This is exactly how Thor should, as I say, deal with it. So he's coming in here with the right uppercut, okay? Hitting the body. Sooner or later, Eddie will respond to that because it will hurt, okay? The way he tends to react, Eddie, and you'll notice it in this video, is that he tends to raise his elbow up or down. By moving the elbow, you can see how it's twisting me down. I'm not trying to do that, it's twisting me down. My body has to follow my elbow, and I'm much less muscle bound than Eddie, okay? So if it pulls me, it's going to pull him even more, because I've got a little bit more flexibility than what he's got, okay? And so as he moves his arm down, he'll be exposing his face and his jaw whilst trying to protect his body. We know what Eddie's going to do, because he's not sparring, he's still keeping the same bad habits. He's going to bring his arm down. That's exactly what you want, okay? So you're going, coming in like this, every now and then, okay? And then you're coming in with a big overhead hook. And that's really where you're doing it. Boxing is a strategy, it's a tactical game as much as a physical game, okay? You're not just trying to hurt here and here. It's like playing chess. You've got to be a couple, if not 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead if you want to win. And so you're coming in, bang, and yes, okay, you want to do damage with this, but you can come in light until he reacts. And you go, this, and you come in with a big blow like that. Now this is a headhunter acrobat, so this mimics the human skull as best as can be mimicked by a bag. Okay, it's heavy, it's hard, it weighs the same amount as a head, about 15 pounds, which is probably about the weight of Eddie's head, okay? And it's, as I say, it hurts when you hit it. It's this kind of bag is used by bare knuckle fighters to train their fists and get used to hitting, okay, a person's head with no gloves. So you can imagine the damage you're going to do with gloves, because gloves don't really stop the damage. All they do is stop the damage to your fist, not to the person you're hitting, okay? They help prevent cuts, but they allow you to hit harder because you're not afraid of breaking your fist. So if you can see how hard I hit that, whilst I'm talking, whilst I'm not in kind of fight mode, imagine what Thor could do against Eddie. Even though Thor isn't the best boxer, he's got a lot of body weight. If he knows how to get that body weight into it, which he doesn't quite at the moment, but he's getting there, even if it's just an arm, you can see, I didn't put any technique into that. It still does quite a bit of damage, so that is going to hurt. And that is why I think Eddie is in trouble. If he continues doing what he's doing, I think it's too late to fix what he's not doing. He's in trouble. He is in trouble. So my favourite, my odds at the moment from watching this particular video is against Eddie. I think Thor will win. But we've got a load more footage to cover, guys. Loads more footage. So you can make your own mind up, and you can hear what I will be doing about criticising Thor also as time goes on. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and I'll see you soon.
You need to learn how to box first. It's alright sparring when you're a numpty. You don't learn anything that way. I'm learning how to box.
Yeah, okay, Eddie. Yeah, you convince yourself of that.